just can't let you know.
I know you're gonna dig this.
Welcome ladies and gentlemen, it's Iceblade here with another YouTube video. Today we're looking at a stabilizer gimbal. The one that I have here is from Escape, but it's the same as most of those handheld stabilizers. So the most well-known one is ROXANT, but they all look the same and they all do the same thing. There is some differences that I have noticed, and mostly it's to do with the weight system they use. So the Escape one also comes with 3 weights, but all 3 weights are the same size or the same weight. Now with the ROXANT you get 3 weights, but they all differ in size. So you have a big one, you have a medium one, and you have a small one, which is basically to do with the size of the camera you put on the stabilizer. Now the stabilizer needs some weight to counter the weight. Now the stabilizer actually needs some weight on it to stabilize it. So the lighter the camera is, actually the more difficult it is to get the stabilizer to work properly. So today I'm going to challenge myself and use a light camera. Now there's certain ways you can circumvent issues, and that's by adding some weight to that lightweight camera. Okay, so let's get into what is in your box, or what comes in your box. Mostly packaged in a nice foam. There's no booklet, and that's actually why most people complain about how difficult it is to set up these stabilizers, because there's no instructions. You get this and you're on your own. So what you get is your 3 weights. Like I mentioned, the Escape one, all 3 same size. Then you have your handle, and what is nice about these handles is I've seen some people just tighten it up so it stays straight and then attach a normal camera or a GoPro onto here, and then you just use it like that. So good for your GoPro, and you can have nice grip on it and you don't have to walk around like this with the GoPro. So this works nice like that. It's like a 2-in-1 pro tip. Then it's the stabilizer magic, actually. So this folds down. When it reaches you, this would basically be on the middle. I normally, to start off with, already move it to the lower setting, or just one lower, because I know for a fact now that the lighter ones, they like to be at that setting. So there is half of it. This is a nice aluminium frame. It's lightweight. It is specifically built for the purpose. So in the heavier DSLRs, you will basically use all of your weights. They come at the bottom and you screw it back on to keep it in place. And that is basically what counteracts your user movements, so that that doesn't go through to the gimbal. It's all to do with this weight in the system. Now, like I said, I'm going to do a very lightweight camera. Now the problem is the weight you put on the stabilizer needs to be more than the weight you put at the bottom. Now this little point and click camera is actually lighter than one of these discs. So what you can do is you get adapters that you can put on top and then put your camera on there. Those adapters also add weight. I've seen people adding weight in here where it's out of the way to just add more weight to the top so that the weighted system at the bottom can do what it's meant to do. So in my case, I have ordered one of those adapters, and I don't have it yet. So I'm going to do a different hack to make this actually work. So in your case, if you start off with, you have 3 settings and then they have slits, where sometimes this camera, although the tripod mount is in the middle, it's still offset. This side is heavier because all the mechanics is on the right hand side of this camera, so it does tend to lean to the right. So the slits on the side is actually meant for you to move your camera in when you want to counteract when it's leaning to a side. I'm also not going to do that. I found difficulty to get the right spot if you're balancing your stabilizer perfectly. So I normally start with the camera in the middle and then also the handle in the middle. So maybe let's just put on this baby camera. Also, you'd see there's a screw-in piece in one of these holes. There should be one where your handle would then screw in. Now, to find your center balance, you'll need to then unscrew that, put it in the next hole, and it gets irritating. So I suggest taking this out. You can use a small coin or a plain washer and just put it in, twist it till it's loose, and then you can just loosen it with your fingers. I then take that and put that on the handle already. Screw it in nice and tight, so, and also tighten up the handle so that the handle is actually stripped. So if you have your camera in the middle, you can already add your weights at the bottom. If you don't like to challenge yourself like I'm doing now, still put your camera in the middle. Doesn't matter if it's a light or a heavy camera, just put it in the middle because that's a starting point for you. If you're using a heavy DSLR, I would suggest putting up all the weights. If you're using like a bridge camera, I would say 2. If you're using one like this, or maybe just a bit heavier, go with 1 plate. So like I mentioned, my camera is actually lighter than one of these discs, so I had to do something else. Now most people just take washers. These washers are kind of handy because sometimes your camera might just be in between discs, like it just needs 1 disc and maybe a little bit more weight, and then you just add some washers. Now in my case, what I'm going to do is I have a big nut, and it's not me. No, it's a real nut. So, and I'm going to use that as a weight because this nut is very light. And then I'm just going to add some of the washers until I get a similar weight to what the camera is at the top. Now I already have one that I have used. It's just a nut that is spray painted red, and in the middle I used hot glue to just have something so that the nut is not moving around, because that is a big hole and that is not a big bolt. I just used some hot glue and then it's basically stable, and it actually screws in as well. So that is my weighting system. Now that you have some weight at the bottom, I normally just take the handle and then I start moving it in one of the holes. You don't have to screw it in, you can immediately see what the stabilizer is doing. Like that is kind of good. So I'm just going to show you. If we go to the other ones, you see it tips. Nice catch, it also tips there. So it looks like for me it's going to be the second hole to start off with. This is not a process where you just put it in and wow, stabilizer is working. It's going to be a lot of tweaks, and tweaks you do at the bottom, then you need to tweak at the top again. And then when it seems stable, you change something, then you need to change the opposite side again. So this is to do with basically just physics. Now, to make this easy, I just check 3 things. I need to get the camera level like this, and then when you look from behind your camera also needs to be centered. And now, if, like I mentioned, the camera is heavier on the one side, so this one is tilted over to that side. Now that is where those slits come in, where you now just move the camera opposite the side it's leaning in. I'm not going to do that because I struggle, because then you limit it. Sometimes with these difficult cameras, the lighter ones, you need a millimeter, and when you're in that slot you can't move forwards or backwards. So what I do is I just move this arm. If the camera is leaning to the left, I move this arm slightly to the right. If the camera is leaning to the right, I let that arm just go to the left. Physics. So the camera is slightly laying over to the left hand side, so I just untighten that and just slightly to the right hand side. And immediately it is right there. Now the only problem is the camera is more slanted forwards. It is not straight up. So it's actually easy. In the angle where it's slanted, if it's slanted forward or backward, you just do the opposite action. So when it's slanted forward, you move the camera backwards. When it's slanted backwards, you move the camera forwards. So it still needs a little bit. It's like micro movements. Don't go too big. So slightly back. And there we go. That is kind of level. It should be good. Okay, so like I said, there's 3 things when I check. Level like this, and then the third thing that's very important actually is if you turn your stabilizer to the side and you let go, you see it swings back because of this weight. So if there's no weight, it'll probably go very slow. Now, you don't want it to swing that fast. I normally aim for 2 seconds. 2 seconds seems to be a sweet spot in these stabilizers, but anything from like 1.5 seconds to 2.5 seconds should be fine. So now how do you get this to fall slower? You can either take away weight, add weight at the bottom, or you move this bottom part of the arm upwards for slower, downwards for faster. So we need slower. So let's just go a decent amount upwards. Okay. And now as soon as we went upwards, the camera wants to tilt forwards again. So like I said, if you do something at the bottom, you need to do something at the top. So we'll just move that one back again because it was forward, so then we move backwards. Okay, so let's see. It's better. It's better. So you just count 1001. Almost. It's almost there. It is so close. Just a little bit up. Let's see if we did something at the bottom. Yep. Now we need to do something at the top. Going backward again. Okay. Still looking good. Okay. And let's go drop it. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. So let's go. 1001, 1002. So that's 2 seconds. That is good enough for me. So if you now have it stable like that and like that, and our drop time is 2 seconds, the next thing you do is you test what you did. So this is the way your stabilizer should be. Now if you move it from side to side, it should do that actually. You don't want, because this is motion physics like I said, so normally if your stabilizer is not set up correctly and you move like that, it will make like a pendulum action, and it will continue like that until it stabilizes itself. But now that pendulum action gets captured in your camera as this, so you don't want that. So you want it to be nice and smooth, and when you dip forward and backward, easy. So although there's no manual in this, it seems difficult at first, but you just need to remember those 3 things. Level like this. If you look from behind your camera, it should also be level like that. And if you have it like that, then you go on to your drop test. 2 seconds, perfect. If it goes to 2.5, still awesome. 1.5, if you struggle to get it to 2, I'll take 1.5 as well. So nummies. So now you can go outside, you can walk around and take steady shots. What I'll do tomorrow is just take off the camera, take a walk, and one-handed, two-handed, and then with the stabilizer, and then compare those 3 shots for you. So see you after the road test. Okay, so now it's one-handed.
Let me in or let me go. Honestly, try honesty. No, just tell me what I want to hear.
Okay, now it's two-handed.
Let me in or let me go. Honestly, try honesty. No, just tell me what I want to hear.
Okay, and this is with the stabilizer on, so I'm just going to do the normal fold over rock scenario.
Let me in or let me go. Honestly, try honesty. No, just tell me what I want to hear, 'cause it could save us. Let me fly, I've got my hope. broken heart.